Good evening, students. Welcome to this year-end sessions that are coming to you. So let us say good evening to all of you. So today's e-chocolate for first login as per my system is Jyoti, then Dhyanesh, Jash, Prabhat, Ayush, Parthasarthi, Kasif, Vedika, Alok, Khushi, and Sushil. So the e-chocolate for first login goes to Jyoti. So let us start the session. 30 seconds to you to ask any questions from chapter 2. So you can put your query. We'll be answering that from chapter 2. Uh, just at the, if you are putting right now, okay. So I'll take it when we have a break, after the break or end of the session, but just keep it with you. So let us start today's session. So good evening, Kanak Karini, Manoj and Swati. Yeah. So information system and component. Just so what we have been learning in chapter 1 and 2 has been automated business process and financial accounting and system. Now we are going deeper into it. So going to the roots of it, what exactly are information system and what are the components of information system? So we are going into deep into that part. So it's like digging in process. So now we are going deep inside to see what exactly is information system and what are the components that make an information system. A few of the topics that we take today, my understanding is that it will be all known to you. You are using all these technologies, all these components day in, day out. The only aspect is that you need to answer them in a structured manner in your examination. So let us start today's session on information system and its components. So that shall be our topic of discussion. In fact, we'll put some time on the headings itself. Introduction, system, components, controls, auditing, data related concept, organization, structure, responsibility, segregation of duties, SOD. I already told you that this is a very, very important aspect for system. This was there in chapter 1, then chapter 2, it is here in chapter 3. A very specific discussion on this aspect is there in chapter 5 also, and some feedback in chapter 4. So there are few words which are common in all these 5 chapters. So I requested you then also that keep a tag of these words. Few words have become very, very important. At the cost of repetition, let us have a recall of the words. So segregation of duty, audit trail, control, preventive, detective, corrective control. So these words are very, very critical. Just keep a tag of them. Then we are going to the module for looking at what this chapter has in store for all of us. So just allow me to bring the module flowchart from the module itself. Yeah. Okay, Kuzema, I got the question. I'll answer that. Now, so what you are looking at is a flowchart for this whole chapter overview. So information system. So first aspect will be components. Components include people, system. System is further divided into hardware, software. Within hardware, we'll be talking in more detail than data resources, networking, and communication system. So these are the components of core information system. And now because you have components information system, so you need to implement controls. So then we'll have a very good discussion on control classification, objectives of control, controls based on the EIS resource for controls, and the function they are adhering to. So this shall be core of our discussion for this chapter. And believe me, this is a very, very, very important chapter, because this is going to create that base on which all the other chapters are basically built upon. So put your heart, mind into it. This is again, same level of understanding has to be created. This is going to be important when you go for practical implementation, practical audit. In fact, many of the aspects that we are going to talk about in this chapter are those aspects which you are going to implement during your articleship, which you are going to audit as your articleship goes ahead. So many aspects of this chapter are for real life application during your articleship itself. So just put your heart mind into it. To that extent, this chapter is so important for doing a very effective and a learning articleship. So let us go to the slide, start from there. Just a fast revision of the chapter. We talk about information system, its components, the controls applicable to that, within control, these divisions, and within controls, the way controls are being used. Let us go to the slide itself. Okay. Now, you know about this, but I have brought a very new word for all of you. In fact, you did answer that in our first lecture of chapter 1. I did ask you what is that technology where the water purifier in your home. Uh, we all have water purifier. Many of us use that water purifier. So there's a company which has created a water purifier which has a Wi-Fi built into it. So that Wi-Fi of the water purifier, you connect to your home Wi-Fi. Now, when water purification is done, so there are resins which purify water. So this water purifier, which is Wi-Fi enabled, what it does that when the resin, the filtering resins or filtering cloth, its quality goes down, it automatically sends a message to the service center of the Wi-Fi supplier. Oh, sorry, of the water purifier supplier. This technology is the word that you are reading on the slide in bold that you call as, yeah, integrated was one, Swati. And the word I want all of you to remember, please take care of this word, IoT, Internet of Technology. Just keep a tag of this word. We'll be taking more examples as we read through, but this is a very, very, very important aspect that has come into being. From individual network, we are moving towards connected networks or network or networks. So network of network that you called as World Wide Web Internet. And now we are in an evolving phase of Internet where a lot of technology innovations are being brought to. The first line is about AI slash ML and automated technologies that are reducing human intervention. AI, as you all understand, is artificial intelligence. ML is an application side of artificial intelligence, that is machine learning and automated technologies that reduce the human intervention to a bare minimum level. In fact, in the previous chapters, we talked about our data analytics, business intelligence that is being used in commercial life. All of us using mobile phones, this Google Talk, Apple, Siri, Alexa, these are all technologies built on AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning. So even if you don't know it, probably, I understand you all of know it, but just for the sake of it, all these technologies are already part of your real life. Just for the sake of understanding, this government departments are using these technologies to process returns. Those of you who are doing articleship, ask your boss what fundamental changes have been made in income tax return processing in last 5 years. Those of you who are going to start articleship, when you start your articleship and within say 1 month, 2 months, when you have a good rapport with your boss, do ask him or her this question, sir, how income tax return processing has evolved in the last 10 years, last 5 years, and look to the answer your boss gives. Believe me, all organization, all government departments have started using data analytics, business intelligence through these technologies that you call as artificial intelligence and machine learning. What exactly is artificial intelligence? Let me just define in simple words. So intelligence is basically capability of analyzing situations, creating rules based on those situations and complying with those rules that you call as intelligence. Providing that intelligence to machine is what we call as artificial intelligence. There are very good studies on AI, artificial intelligence, which are available. A lot of movies have been made on AI based technologies. Do find time to watch those movies for the sake of understanding the technology and the impact it has on the life of humans as we exist. So these automated technologies are in place today. Use of these technologies has created something that we call as Internet of Things. So just you are correct. IoT is Internet of Things. Now, what exactly IoT is there? So so IoT basically means that your electrical devices that you are using, like your microwave oven, your washing machine, your TV, your refrigerator, your air conditioner, your water purifier, in fact, your security system, all have been connected to internet, and then you can operate them through your mobile phones. You have been seeing a lot of advertisements on TV channels, on OTT platforms showing how these technologies are working. You see an advertisement by one of the biggest stars that you can close this air conditioner by using your mobile phone. There's a advertisement by a washing machine manufacturer telling you that you can operate the washing machine sitting at your office. So how does that washing machine is operated sitting at the office? The washing machine has a Wi-Fi component built into it. You connect the washing machine to your home Wi-Fi, download the app of the manufacturer of the washing machine, put the details of the washing machine that you have at your home, and then washing machine you can operate sitting in your office. All this is what you call as Internet of Technology, IoT. Very, very important. And yes, Parthati, no, please understand. Getting remote control is not Internet IoT. Please understand. Remote, your television remote has been there for more than 15, 20, 25 years now. So that doesn't make television a Internet of Things. Internet of Things means the capability that you're able to operate that device through use of Wi-Fi connected devices. That is what you call as IoT, Internet of Technology. I have installed a bulb that is at my home. Now, because in COVID, I had these lectures from my home. Now I take from a studio like. So when I was taking this lecture from my home, I had installed IoT enabled bulb in my lecture room. So I used to display practically operate that bulb through my mobile phone, and we all used to see the change of colors. I can operate that bulb right now also, but I'll not be able to show you the change of color. So where you can remotely control through use of internet, those are called as Internet of Things. So just having remote doesn't make it IoT. Okay. Yeah, Kanikarini, smart again, please understand, smart TV, if it creates capability for you to operate that TV remotely using internet, then it is IoT. Please understand. Yeah. Oh, great, Manoj. Thank you. So Manoj says he also has that bulb. The only reason I got that bulb was just to have a feel of technology. But now, see, that was say 5 years, 6 years back. Now, most of the devices which companies are selling, they are selling it in a IoT mode so that you can operate them remotely also. Okay. Then when you talk of components, the core components of information system are people, computer system that includes hardware, operating system, other software, data resources, networking and communication. So please carry this. We are going to have a detailed discussion and I'll be asking many, many questions on all of these words. Okay. So information system, and this is basically how the steps look like. The previous was components. These are the steps, how you process a information system. No, Swati. Please understand that what is the full form of IoT? Internet of Things. So if a device is there, home appliance is there, if you can control the home appliance through using internet, and that can be done remotely, then it is IoT. As simple as that. Yeah. If I've answered the question. Okay. So just look at that. Okay. Now, so probably the steps of information system, this includes input, process, output, storage, and feedback. So I'm asking you this question. In fact, one of you did answer it here, that our class is a good example of a system. So what is input? You are input. I am also input. The what is the process? Process of learning is the process. The teaching is process. You answer asking question is process. Me answering your question is process. Then output, I want you to say what will be the output of this class. Storage, this is recorded, and feedback that you give to the institute. So our class is a very good example of input, process, output, storage, and feedback. I want you to give the answer to output. I don't want to guess the output. I want all of you to say what will be output of the class that you are taking. Okay. So this is how it looks in a flowchart manner. Input, business problems in form of data, information, instruction, opportunities, process through software, through program, use of people, using communication channel, output, solution to the problem. It can be form of report, graphic, calculations, storage. It can be audio, video, graphical, text, any type of output could be there, and storage save all this data information. Great. So I intentionally wanted all of you to answer my question. So Alok says output is result of the exam. Manoj says passing the exam. Jyoti says understanding the concept. Kojima says we all all pass C intermediate. Dhyanesh is very optimistic, becoming a C. That was the output I expected. Prabhat says learning. That is great. Kanakarini says clearing inter. Jesh says at the end our knowledge regarding this will be considered as output. Yeah, I'll accept that. But we are looking for just more say objective answer to the question. Output will be, Priyanka says clearing examination. Alok says knowledge that we are gaining and good marks obtained. Vedika says clearing of concepts. Kiran says passing exams, benefiting from the classes. Output is result. Priyanka, we have two Priyanka. Malge is then Sharan. Correct answer is the output. Muhammad Abid says giving 100%. Oh, I thought getting 100%. Yes, so that is great. Parthasarthi says output ICI release exam result in statistics. Great. Fantastic. So this is what is input, process, output. Great. Okay. Now coming to the core part of the discussion, that is components. Component of information system. Few more answers have come. One of them is very good. I need to read it. Piyush says output is our bright future. Okay. Then Prabhat says solution to problems. Great. Now coming to components. So again, we understand that if question comes in examination, we have to first define information system and then talk about components. So let us read through this. With the help of information system, enterprises and individuals can use computers to collect, store, process, analyze, distribute information. There are different types of information systems: manual information system, informal information system, formal information system, and computer-based information system. Now, because our core discussion is technology, so we are basically talking about computer-based information system. So the components include people, hardware, software, data, and network communication system. Now, see, please understand the relevance of this chapter, this list: people, hardware, software, data, network communication system. I am asking you a question. Okay, what we have to basically understand that the 5 chapters have to be holistically understood, holistically taken together. So what I am doing, I am linking this 5 components of information system to a word we learned in early chapter, and then you answer in yes, no. as soon as you answer in yes, no, what you will gain an understanding of the second major topic that we are going to talk about in this chapter. So I am asking you this question. Try to say yes, no. It's a consolidated question for all 5 components. Are these components subject to vulnerabilities? My question is, are these components subject to vulnerabilities? क्या इन components को vulnerabilities होती है? Only you have to say yes, no. Okay. As you answer, based on your answer, we'll link your answer to the second part of this chapter. Okay. Vulnerability, you understand. Okay. I am not defining now. Okay. So, we have got answers. So this time I think I did ask the institute that your chat feedback has to be made fast. So I think it has been made fast because now I'm getting a virtually real time answers. In previous sessions, previous classes, there was a 15 to 30-second gap. Okay, so Manjunath, Piyush, Uday, Dhyanesh, Khojema, Jash, Vedika, all have said yes. Now, then Jyoti, Parsati, Manoj, Alok, Sharan, Mohammad Abid, Shraboni, Rajashri, okay, Prabhat, Priyanka, Varsha, and Miss Kiran. The Priyanka Malge says no. So, Priyanka Malge, your answer is not correct. What is vulnerability? Vulnerability is weakness. So, each system is having weakness. Yes, each component will have weakness. We talked about in earlier chapter that, okay, so next question. Next question is, if we agree that these are going to have weaknesses, then we talked about how you mitigate weakness. So you answer the second question. How I can mitigate this weakness? What I can implement for the components to mitigate the weakness? Mitigate means to reduce the impact of. Mitigate का मतलब किसी चीज के प्रभाव को कम करना. तो अगर कोई vulnerability है तो उसको हम mitigate कैसे कर सकते हैं? If vulnerability exists for each of the component, now I want you to answer how you can mitigate that vulnerability, what you can put to mitigate the vulnerability. Okay, let us continue. So the question you are answering now is, what can be put in place to mitigate the vulnerabilities? Let us read. Great. So the answers are there. Yes. Piyush, Uday, controls. So you can mitigate the vulnerability through implementing control. Now just check the flowchart we talked about at the start of this chapter. Only 2 parameters to the flowchart. Components, controls. So you have components are subject to vulnerabilities you require to implement controls. So that is how all these things can be linked together. Okay, great. So your answer is correct, but you miss the most important word in your answer, that is control. So when you say constantly updating, means constantly updating the controls to keep the risk, the vulnerability at a mitigated level. That is. Yeah, Prabha. So countermeasure is control. Security is control. Countermeasures are controls. By implementing control, proper. So Varsha says proper inputs. No, Varsha, proper controls. Okay, good. Great. Now let us go ahead. So let us take them one by one. The components are people, hardware, software, data, network, and communication. Yeah. So Sharon, firewall is also control. So what I'm basically picking the right word from your answers so that you understand that what we are basically looking for. Great. So this is a flowchart, the way components could be arranged. So components include people, computer system, data resource, network and communication system, and within computer system, hardware, software. Okay. Let us continue. People. So people involved in information system are critical components of information system, from help desk to system programmers all the way up to the CIO, Chief Information Officer. All of them are essential components of information system. People are most important element in computer-based information system The people involved include users of system and information system personnel, including all people who manage, run, program, and maintain the system. So any person who is part of the organization which is using information system, he or she is a critical component of information system. He or she is subject to vulnerabilities. So if he or she is subject to vulnerabilities, you require controls to mitigate those vulnerabilities. Okay. That is about people. Then coming to yes, so we will be talking about a lot on this. So one of the core part of today's discussion will be focused on the second component of information system, that is computer system. Computer system includes hardware and software. When you talk of hardware and software, they have their own uh, categorization. So hardware includes input device, processing device, data storage device, output devices. Software includes operating system software and application software. So let us read through them. Information system hardware is part of information system that you can touch physically. That includes computer, keyboard, hard drives, iPad, flash drives, and there could be more 100 examples. They are all part of information system hardware. This includes input device, processing device, data storage devices, and output devices. So let us take them one by one. Okay, now so devices through which we interact with system and include these devices. Now we want to create a definition of input devices. So those devices which capture data and feed into the computer, these are called as input devices. Okay. Keyboard, yes. Mouse, yes. Scanners and barcode readers, image based input. You go to departmental store, billing. So all of those, all your products that you have bought have barcodes. So those barcodes are for billing, they act as a input device. Micer, anyone who wants to give full form of micer, then okay. Webcam, the way we are interacting. So we are interacting through a webcam. So that becomes a input device. Microphone, I am speaking through a microphone. That becomes an input device. Stylus, those touch pen, those becomes input devices. Touch screen, yes. So is a touch screen an input device? Yes. Now you see that there is question mark across some of the words. So the question marks have been put to ask you, you understand. So micer is magnetic ink character reader. So at the bottom side of the check, there are, you see a white strip, and on that white strip, some numericals are printed. So those are magnetic ink characters which are printed. So now because check processing is an automated process, the authenticity of check is done through reading of this micer print. So that reader that reads in a bank is magnetic ink character reader. So it is basically used in bank. At the bottom of the check, you print those. So you saw those numerical alphabets in a very different font printed. Those are micer characters. Webcam is an input device, so no confusion. Microphone is also an input device. Voice-based system work on input device. Stylus, that pen that you use with high-end mobile phones. Touch screen, yes. So I wanted to ask to you, touch is, you have to say yes, no. So my question to you is, touch screen is a pure input device. Pure means it can only be used for input. Say yes, no. Yeah, Sushil, mitigate means to reduce the impact of. Yeah, so because I have only got one correct answer by Priyanka. MICR is magnetic ink character recognition. So just to have a feel of it in your home, or you get stipend check from your office, just see the bottom part of the check. So there's a white strip. On the white strip, virtually in the middle of the check, you find some numericals printed in a special font. Those are micer codes. which are used in bank to validate the authenticity of the check. So the checks are directly processed in machine through that. Okay. So yes, so I think let us see. Okay. So Manjunath has said no to my question. Jyoti has also said no. Uday has said no. Piyush has said no. And Prabhat also has said no. So our e-chocolates to all these four for giving the correct answers. See, touchscreen is both. It's an output device as well as an input device. You go to ATM. So you insert your card, so then it asks you what you want to do. It asks you to feed the pin. So on the touch screen you are doing both things. So the output is also there and you are giving input. So touch screen is what you may call as a input output device, a common device used for input as well as output. Great. Now the next question. So touch screen is one. Can you give one more example of a device which can you be used as both input output? Yes, great, Manjunath. It provides output also. Good. So one more example of a device which can be used both for input as well as output. Then now this requires a lot of understanding. Processing device. So whenever you talk about computers, there's something called as a CPU, Central Processing Unit. Device in computers are called as CPU or Central Processing Unit. So these Central Processing Units is where all processing is done. The CPU is the actual hardware that interprets and executes command, instruction, and coordinates how all the other hardware devices work together. The CPU is built on a small flake of silicon and can have equivalent of several million transistors. Will improve. I bring the history of computers to get a very good understanding of this. We can think of transistors as a switches which can be put on off. That is, they can take value 1 or 0. The processor or CPU is like brain of the computer. It is the brain of computer. Just to give you a because the year you are, so the first computing device was virtually created roughly a century ahead, 100 years back. So when initial computers were made, they were using transistors. Okay. Today the computers are used, they are still using transistors. Okay. The first computer that was used, it used an electrical symbol on off to create all the mathematical calculation. Probably you must have read something about George Boolean algebra. Okay. So that whole calculation was on off. That was 0 and 1. Today also all the calculation in computer is based on 0 and 1, on off, binary. Okay. What is the difference? See, the core difference is that the first computers made. So I'm just showing you this mouse. The size of the mouse was virtually size of one transistor. One transistor. Now, when first big computer was made, so it had lakhs of transistors, this size. Now, this size, lack of transistors to make that computer, the transistor occupied a whole big hall. These transistors emit heat. So transistors used in first computer, this size will emit heat, and transistor that you can see on screen, the word transistor, the small size, they also emit heat. So that time, 50 years, 75 years back, or the transistor had to be cooled down. So because it was a big room, big hall, huge size transistors put there, and the heat emitted was so huge. So there were cooling stations around the transistor. Cooling station means there was big pipelines with water running, was surrounding that hall, and air was blown into that so that the transistors emitting heat can be cooled down. Today also, the processor, if you open your motherboard of laptop, desktop, you see is a small fan that ensures that the transistor is cooled down in your desktop computers. If that fan is not working, your computer starts heating. So the technology per se remains the same. The core fundamental difference then and now is that the size of the transistor that I have shared was this one. 100 years back, 75 years back. Today, on a square inch of silica chip, square inch of a thin silicon chip, there are more than 1 billion transistors. In fact, the level of nanotechnology has been so high that now they are making transistors which have a single electron, neutron, proton. So combination of this has been converted into a transistor. That much compactness has been brought. So what the technology has done, made the computer very compact and increase the speed of processing. So a lot of effort has been made in increasing the speed of processing. Means this electrical circuitry, the buses that you see, the electrical circuit, so it reduces the speed. So some way are being devised how to increase the speed of speed of that processing. So the very recent supercomputers have a very specialized connecting methodology so that the speed of processing is equal to speed of light. So that things are being done in technology. So the basic idea about the way processing is done remains the same. It works on 0, 1. It works on transistor. Transistors emit heat then also and now also. Yes. Yes, Prabhat. Exactly. Good. Sushil, MICAR is acronym for Magnetic Ink Character Recognition. Magnetic Ink Character Recognition. So MICAR is basically a specialized ink. Where you find it? So below the check, the physical check, there's a white strip just at the end of the check. On that white strip, you find special font used to print the details. So let me show you, if I can show you, and let me see how secure I can, what can be the secure mode of showing it to you. Not very sure. Okay, yeah. So now I'll be able to show it to you. So you see this at the end of, let me see how it is looking when I'm showing it to you. Yeah. So if you see this bottom there, this is magnetic ink character recognition. So this is how these checks are printed. Okay. So many of you have given correct answers. Good. Then, so within that, the 3 processing units include a control unit, arithmetic, logic unit, and processor registers. Now, control unit within the computer is what is the monitor, that is which is managing everything. Arithmetic logic unit is that part of processing where this mathematics, this logics, we in chapter 1 we talked about flowcharts. So those decisions and all those mathematics calculation is basically done in ALU. And recall your flowchart. So there was a start symbol, and the next rectangle you made, the command you gave in the flowchart was CAWL, clear all working location. So that in chapter 1 we discussed, I told you that what happens in computer, there is a chance that suppose you are using a variable ABC in your flowchart, there is a possibility that ABC may have a pre-calculated value in the computer system. So to ensure that whatever variable you use in your computer system, you tell the computer system that make all those values 0, null. So where are those values stored in computer system? That is the third one, your process registers. There the values are stored. So that is where that clear all working location command works. So it brings all variables to nil or 0 value. Now, next is memory. Yeah, a lot of discussion is there in memory unit function in the module itself. So data storage devices refers to memory where data and programs are stored. various types of memory technique devices are given as follows. Now, understand primary memory and main memory is generally that is in your system. Secondary memory is your additional memory. So like your storage devices, the hard disks are more a good example of secondary storage. Pen drive, secondary storage. Okay. Then we are having a good discussion on each of these definitions. Primary memory are generally two types. They are in the processor itself. They are called as RAM and ROM. RAM is random access memory and ROM is read-only memory. Random access memory and read-only memory. Now, I will go to the module because there is a lot of discussion on their differences and what functionality they go through. I think as someone did say that you have already read. So I'm asking you a question only for your understanding. RAM and ROM. So one of them is called as a volatile memory. So which is volatile, RAM or ROM? Volatile. Volatile means if I power off, the memory value goes off. So RAM and ROM, which is volatile? So you have to say RAM is ROM, volatile, or ROM is volatile. RAM, good. So Kanakharini and Swati, they have answered correctly. Yes. Okay. So let us go to the module now. Just give me a second. So there it is. So primary memory, also known as the main memory, or you can call as internal, that is inside. So one difference based on the definition you can create between primary and secondary is primary is internal, secondary will be external. Okay. RAM is volatile. So all of you have Aarti, we have Aarti, Sami, it is RAM, random access. Let us read through. Okay. So data retention. Data retention means if computer is put off, which of the two is going to retain data? So ROM is called as non-volatile. Non-volatile means it is going to retain data even when power is not there. RAM is volatile. That means it will not be able to retain data if power is put off. Persistence. Persistence means holding. The purpose is to hold program and data while they are in use. So RAM is going to hold the data when program is being used. ROM is going to hold data basically for rapidly charging those data that is not changing. These are used to store small amount of information that rarely changes from the lifetime of the system. For example, basic input output system. So ROM holds small amount of data permanently. Information access. Whatever information is there in RAM, it can be read and modified. So information in RAM is readable and modifiable. Information in ROM is only readable, it is non-modifiable. So sometimes you say that RAM is temporary, ROM is permanent memory because you cannot change it. Storage. So RAM stores instruction and data that the computer is using at the present moment. That is why it is sometimes called as temporary memory. ROM stores data for long time. So it may be called as permanent memory. That is why it is called as permanent memory. Impact. Yes. Volatile memory such as RAM has high impact on systems performance. In fact, I don't know whether you have experienced, but suppose you are using a system, just for example, a desktop. So desktop has a size of RAM, random access memory. Sometimes your system goes slow. So you call your vendor. You know what your vendor says? Okay, you want to increase the speed of the system. Let me add a RAM. So now because today, all computers are assembled devices. So every component of the computer that you see is assembled. So there are slots. If you open your desktop and you look to the motherboard, there are additional slots of random access memory available. RAM is available in the market. You can purchase RAM and insert in the slot. So if you increase the RAM of your computer, your performance of your computer increases. So that is the impact. Let me read it again. It is volatile memory such as RAM. It has high impact on system performance. So by increasing RAM, you can increase the performance of your system. ROM being non-volatile, it doesn't have any impact on system performance. Then, yes, next is again cost. Volatile memory is costly. So per unit cost of RAM is very high. So you want to add, say, for example, 2 GB RAM. So there's a electrical small, if I had, I could have shown you. I used to have it. I'll just see it. So there's a RAM slot that comes. So that RAM is available, say, in 1,000 or 1,500 rupees. So per unit cost of RAM is very high. Non-volatile per unit cost, per unit of storing that it is having, the cost is low. RAM, the speed is high. ROM is also high, but because we are doing a comparison, so ROM is slower than RAM. Then RAM is going to have a very large capacity of storage. ROM is going to have generally small storage capacity. Then Sharan has asked persistence. Now, persistence is basically like it is, Sharan, you can link this persistence to the first word we talked about, data retention. Okay. So let us read the definition as in the module. The purpose is to hold program and data while they are in use. So when you say that for what moment of time data is going to persist in RAM, for what moment of time data is going to be persist in RAM. So the answer to the question is till the time data is used. But if you bring this question for ROM, that for what time data is going to persist in ROM, so it is going to persist for infinite. That is. And I'm just keep this. You have asked a good question. Keep this. There's one more aspect I want to add to this. There's some update has been done. A word has been, it was there in the previous one, but it exists in computer definition, a concept of virtual memory. So it is not in the syllabus, but because Sharan has asked, I'm bringing this example to help you understand what exactly is the concept of virtual memory. Okay. So understand, this is for helping you get the understanding of the word persistence. See what happens, like your size of the RAM is 4 GB. Okay. The program that you are running is 100 GB. Now, a 100 GB program running on 4 GB, how it is possible? So it is possible because what happens on the RAM, only that part of the program is working which is actually being used. So for size of a program that may be 100 GB, at a moment of time, you may be only using 1 GB. Suppose you have used a part of the program and now you're going to use another part of the program. So that part will come to RAM. So RAM never gets filled, never gets, you don't get a message that RAM is full. Of course, if there's a size mismatch is big, the speed slows. That is why you can add this additional slot that I was talking about. So persistence means that the memory RAM is filled for that moment of time that you are using program. Now, this concept that I've talked about, what concept? That for a 100 GB program, you are able to run through a 4 GB RAM. So for this 100 GB program, suppose you are using 1 GB. So this 1 GB is stored on RAM. Then you take the second 1 GB, it is again stored on RAM. What happens? This 1 GB that is coming from this larger program doesn't occupy additional space. It saves itself on the top of the other program. This is called as what you call as overlaying. So the new program overlays itself on the previous program. That is why, just for the academic purpose, suppose this question comes, what is real memory size of the RAM? That is 4 GB. What is virtual memory size? Virtual memory means the size that doesn't exist, but it appears to exist. It is infinite. So that is what persistence is. Okay, Sushil. Volatile means this information that you have in RAM will be available for that period of time. The power is on. As soon as you switch the power off of the computer, whatever is in RAM will be automatically deleted. That is volatile. Volatile means it disappears. That is volatility. Yes, Jyoti has given a good point that what is the difference? Okay, it's learning. Good, Jyoti. Thank you. What difference it makes when you buy a mobile phone with 4 GB and RAM and mobile phone with 8 GB RAM. Exactly, that is what we call as performance. And now I don't play it, but probably you must be playing this games on mobile. So those young kids and teenagers and young adults who are addicted to mobile gaming, they need a mobile phone with higher RAM because it adds to the performance of the mobile phone. Good. So this differences we want to take from for RAM and ROM. Yes, Alok. So by the word RAM ROM, it is applicable to all devices. So it includes your mobile, iPad, iPhone, other things. So Alok is experiencing it, yes. So I'll request, of course, playing game may be good, but then it has to be only a part-time activity. Full-time, we are all chartered accountant students. So all focus has to be on study. Only for relaxation that is allowed. Okay. Thank you, Alok. Now, another concept comes that is called as a cache memory. So let me bring you an example and then you will gain an understanding of what exactly is a cache memory. Okay. See what happens. Computer has a very high speed of processing. So suppose you give a command that on computer to print say 1000 pages. Now what will happen? Your computer is going to process the print command for printing 1000 pages probably in less than a second. Now computer is processed. So the print file from your computer has to go to the printer. Computer has processed it at a very high speed, but printer will not be able to print it less than a second. Printer will require 10-20 minutes to print 1000 pages. Now, if this processed file of 1000 page print remains in the memory of the computer, then it is going to be static. It is not going to work because this is going to occupy space also. So where you find that the processor has processed and the output device is yet to complete the task to make processor free, this concept is added that is called as cache memory. So cache memory is a memory that is basically used to make good the difference of processing or speed between output devices and processor. So what computer does now, when you have this cache built in your computer, as soon as 1000 page printout is processed from the main memory slot, it transfers the print file to cache memory. So now the printout will be managed through the cache memory. My main memory is free so that I can process further information. That is the concept. Let us read the differences. Nadeem, you have to be specific on ROM, but I'll give you the definition. See, ROM is read-only memory. ROM is a small size memory, which is in nature of permanent data input, data information kept in system. ROM does not delete when the system is off. It remains there. So it is also called as permanent memory. It is a small size memory. Readers can only read ROM. Readers cannot modify ROM. So these are what ROM is. Read on the name tells it is read only memory. You can only read into it. Okay. So let us go to module page. Yeah. Here it is. Processor and cache memory. So processor register. So let us see, cache is a smaller, extremely fast memory type built into CPU that acts as a buffer between RAM and CPU. Cache memory stores copies of data from most frequently used main memory so that CPU can access it more rapidly than main memory. So it frees that part. Okay. These are high. So just remember these differences given. Process registers, these are high speed memory units within CPU for storing small amount of data. Cache is a fast built-in memory in computer CPU. It is used to reduce the average time to access data from main memory. The data that is stored within cache might be values that have been computed earlier. The example, the file generated or duplicates of original value. The registers are only memory units. Most processors can operate directly. Cache memory is an interface between CPU and main memory. You cannot access directly cache. It is system through only. Sharon, okay, so one I've given, now we are reading from the module itself. So cache memory is basically inbuilt, a transitory memory between your central processing unit and main storage. What I give was a functionality of it, not exactly. See, cache is a definition. So you don't have an example of cache. You can define the function of cache. That is exactly what we talked about is written here. Okay. Pranav, while the time you're using, it is part of RAM and you have to see what happens. Pranav, let me answer this. So because the word is there, so I'll explain you through this word that is secondary memory. Pranav's question. Images stored are in RAM or ROM. So while you're creating those images, it is part of RAM. When you have to save it, like suppose you paint and you create an image and you want to save. So you go to paint that save as, then you select your location. So suppose you're selecting hard drive D colon. So hard drive D colon is secondary memory. That is. So all your storage is basically secondary memory because suppose you don't save. It happens during articleships in our office. What we tell our articles that if you're doing on computer, after a specified frequency, you get into habit of pressing what we call as Control S, save. So you start getting into the habit of Control S. So what happens when you press Control S for the first time? The system asks you what is the location you want to save. So you select the hard drive, the drive location, name of the file, and you save. And every 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you save it. Suppose you don't save it and power goes off. A very good example. What happens? When you don't save that file, you have not given the name nor the location and power goes off. The file is deleted. That is because it was when you are using it, it was part of RAM unless you save it. So as soon as you save it on what you see as point B, secondary memory. So that is answering the question that Pranav has asked. Okay. So when you save images, it basically goes to secondary memory. RAM and ROM are examples of primary memory. What is primary memory? That is part of your computer. What is secondary memory? That is generally external to the main processing part. That is hard disk. Hard disk is in your computer, but hard disk is not part of your processing unit. So you call it as secondary. Okay. Then it's good. Let me answer all your questions. No, stored application is stored in a. Okay, so let us take. It's a learning. I love to answer these questions. Let us go to the original example of mobile. You know, I thought someone would comment on the definition I gave. What was the definition I gave? That you can buy a mobile phone with 4 GB RAM. You can buy a mobile phone with 4 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM, and you have another option, a 64 GB mobile phone storage and a 128 GB mobile phone storage. I thought someone must have asked that. Now let us do it. So 4 GB, 8 GB is RAM, primary. 64 GB, 128 GB, secondary memory. Okay. So how much applications you can store is dependent on the 64 GB, 128 GB. That is secondary memory. How much fast your mobile process is dependent on RAM, 4 GB, 8 GB. So that will answer Jyoti's question. So applications that are stored on mobile are not stored on RAM. They are stored on the 128 GB secondary memory slot. When you run the application, the program from the application transfers to the RAM and starts running. That is. Okay, I'll take your example, not saying anything. Yeah, Manoj, autosave must be there. Yes. Manjunath. Okay, good. So just remember the headers. RAM and ROM are primary memory. So primary, which are part of your central processing unit, primary memory. Then Manjunath's question is, what type of memory does ROM contain? No, it contains permanent data, permanent information. So what the question needs reframing. Manjunath, question needs reframing. What it is a memory. What type of memory it is? Primary. What data it is? Permanent data. That is how you read. Okay. So good discussion, learning. Okay. Then secondary memory. So now secondary memory is beyond the primary memory. Okay. No, you cannot do Parthasarthi. You cannot. User cannot access cache memory. It is system driven. So you cannot do anything. Yeah, cloud is secondary. Kojima cloud is secondary. Yes. Good. So discussion helps me also conceptualize very good things. Thank you. Okay. So now secondary memory. So please understand what is the definition of secondary memory, which whatever is beyond the main memory in CPU is secondary. If a question comes like this, hard disk is secondary memory. Even if hard disk is part of the same physical, say, desktop, but because it is outside the central processing unit, it becomes secondary memory. So now we want to talk about the difference between primary memory and secondary memory. Okay. And you have a lot of questions in examination on this. Okay. Just remember these. So primary memory and secondary memory. Primary memory is directly accessible by processor. Secondary memory is not directly accessible. Data. Instructions or data to be currently executed are part of primary memory. Data to be permanently stored is in secondary memory. So your applications are stored in secondary memory. Primary memory is volatile. ROM is not, but then ROM is very minuscule part of information. So that is why it says is usually volatile. They have not said primary is always volatile, usually volatile. And for your sake of understanding, you can write here in bracket RAM. RAM is volatile. Okay. Secondary memory is non-volatile. That is why control has become relevant. So even if power goes off, whatever you have saved to pen drive, hard disk remains there. Formation. Primary memories are on semiconductor wire. That is why their per unit cost is very high for primary memory. Secondary memories are made of magnetic and optical materials, so their per unit cost is low. You get the concept of per unit cost if I'm using the word. Please say yes, no. I'll give it an example. You'll get an understanding. You get the concept of per unit cost. Say yes, no. So per unit cost is cost of storing 1 bit of information. So 1 bit, then kilobit, then megabit, then gigabit, gigabytes. So 1 byte of information that you store, that is per unit cost. Okay. So just for sake, you have to say yes, no, whether this concept is clear. Then let us continue. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, Jyoti says no, so let me explain that. Just take this very simple example. You will be able to do on your own. An additional slot of 4 GB RAM. An additional slot of 4 GB RAM costs 1,000 rupees. So 4 GB RAM, 1,000 rupees. A pen drive of 16 GB is available at 500 rupees. Okay. So we were talking of per unit cost. So 4 GB RAM, 1000 rupees. 16 GB pen drive, 500 rupees. Pen drive is secondary, RAM is primary. So if I calculate what is the 1 GB cost of RAM, so 1 GB cost of RAM is 250 rupees. What is 1 GB cost of my pen drive? So that is 500 divided by 16. So you divide 500 by 16. So 16, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4.5 rupees. That is how. So for 1 GB RAM, it is 250 rupees and 1 GB secondary storage is 4.5 rupees. That is the difference. That is how you look at it. So that you call as per GB cost. Then excess speed, accessing data from, yes, because it is directly in the computer. So it's very fast. Secondary, slightly slower, depends on the connectivity between input and output channels. Size, very small. Secondary, huge. This Facebook and Google and Amazon and the data that they are saving is all on secondary. It's terabytes and petabytes. New units are being added to the data that they are generating on a daily basis. Then size, the computer is small primary memory. Computer can have large secondary memory. Expense, we have talked about. Primary memory is costlier. So please understand, when you say costlier is, just write in bracket per unit cost, so that when you write, this example is clear to you, and in examination you can write it clearly. So per unit cost, when they say costlier and cheaper, they mean in terms of per unit cost of the memory. Okay. Then primary is internal memory and secondary is external. The one you are reading, Prabhat, processors. So Intel i3, Core i5, AMD, Ryzen's, these are processors, and these processors have central processing units, and the central processing units have control units, ALU, and memory registers. And you can read if you read the technical parameters of these processors, you'll get the understanding of the discussion we are having. So when you read the technical parameters, what we are discussing are all defined there in their technical guidance. Of course, that technology, that much technicalities you need not understand, but for knowledge sake, you can read them. A database is different. We'll come to that. Parthasarthi, it's a different word. Okay. So it is there in the module. So that is why Parthasarthi has said here it is databus. I'll tell you. So what is a data bus? So data bus are those, suppose you open this, your motherboard, desktop, or your laptop, you see this electric circuitry, very thin wires, electric circuitry. Those circuitries are called as bus. Those circuitries called as bus. And when data travel, those buses in which data travel in system, those are called as data bus. So those are data bus. So data bus are where the data travels. Now, why the access for primary is fast? Because it travels through those buses and which are very high speed connection. Just for the sake of understanding, the metals used for this are very high speed. They allow the data to be transmitted virtually at the speed of light. But input, output channels, the copper wires, the aluminum wires, the speed becomes slow. To you and me, it is not going to make a difference. But for supercomputer, these processes, this very minuscule nanosecond difference make a lot of difference. So that differences are important. Okay. Priyanka, I said, yeah. So I had said that you get a 16 GB pen drive for 500 rupees. So per GB cost is what? So you divide 500 by 16. So yeah, okay, 30. Okay. Still, it is not that costly. So agreed. So Priyanka has corrected me. Thank you, Priyanka. Okay. Yes. If your mobile, Kujama has said that Now mobile companies give option that you can extend RAM. So I don't know whether it's a do-it-yourself kit, but if you want to extend the RAM of your mobile, so probably you have mobile with additional slots of RAM being sold in the market, but that requires opening of the RAM and putting some hardware into it. So I don't know whether you and me can do it. But yes, it requires opening and putting a hard device into it. Dhanesh has further improved 31.25. Thank you. So that allows me to check the level of attentiveness we all are having. Great. Thanks a lot. And improve myself also. Okay. So this is how the memory hierarchy works. So you have the processor registers, then cache memory, RAM and ROM, and secondary memory. That is. Just remember the way, basically the closeness to the processing unit, the speed, all are parameters to this flowchart. Then next is outputs. So computer system provide output to decision maker at all levels in an enterprise to solve business problem. The desired output may be visual, audio, digital. Output devices are devices through which system respond. Two aspects to look into: the form of output and the device where the output is being generated. So let us see. So I'll be asking a question. Okay. Textual output that you know, graphics you know, tactile output. Now you have to tell me at least two locations where you have said tactile output. This helps basically people who are not able to see to read. Where you see tactile output. Okay. Then audio output is music. Video output, you all know. So where do we all see tactile output? Okay. So I'll wait for the answer. Go ahead. Then the devices. So I think devices are clear. Nothing value added I need to explain. Yeah, Uday. Yes, we can use printout for that. We have you have talked about that. Good. So speakers, headphones, screen monitors, touch screen becomes output as well as input. Printer with scanner become both input output. Voice output comes, so voice can be output as well as input. Then video, plotter, wireless. Yeah, lift. So, okay, Manjunath. Yes, you have said correctly, ATM. So, from which button of the lift has the, means generally now the new lifts which are being put, every number from 0 to 9 in the lift has a tactile, but suppose your calculator. So on your calculator, 5 is a digit. On your keyboard, F and G are the digits which have tactile, which have that raised line so that the person who can identify where he or she is typing. Yes, good. Yeah, I was just, how do they do tactile in smartphone? Means it will be basically making it voice enabled. So the person, because smartphones, it's a display screen. The feature phones, which didn't have the display screen where the keyboard was used, there the 5 will have a raised line. Yes. F and J. Yes. FJ on keyboard. Yeah. Good. I just saw it here. F and J. Good. That is hardware. Now, software. Yeah. Mitesh Bhai has put a question. Router modem. Mitesh Bhai, that will be part of network device. So it is going to come. If you wanted to ask something other than that, if the question was that is part of network device. Okay. Then coming to the next, that is software. So software is defined as a set of instructions that tell the hardware what to do. Software is created through a process that we call as programming. Yeah, tactile means raised. Sharon, tactile means raised. Just remember it as raised. Okay. So you create a physical identification than the normal. If you see on your keyboard FJ key, or if you have a calculator, uh, the the 5 number key on the calculator has a raised line, so that you can feel it by closing your eyes. Someone did say on the currency notes also, there are special symbols. It can be square, rectangle, which are raised on the currency note. So you can just feel that figure, the geometrical figure, and identify what denomination the currency note is. Okay. Now, two types of software, operating system software and application software. So we already had a discussion in module 1 regarding operating. Yeah, on the numpad, it will be 5 also. Good. So operating system is a set of computer program that manages computer hardware resource and act as an interface with computer application program. The operating system is a vital component of system software in computers. So this is basically used to run the whole hardware. So the connect between hardware and the user is built through an operating system. The examples are given. So I'm not asking this question. Then this is important to the activities that an operating system may be performing. This includes the basic hardware function, user interface, creating the interface between the man and the machine. That is basically through operating system. It creates hardware independence. Hardware independence means like Android operating system. So you can use on multiple machines. So means whatever may be hardware, the operating system creates a usability. Memory management, this registers that we are talking about. Task management, who is doing what, networking capability, the network part, the linkages that have to be created. Someone asked about routers and that. Logical access security. We are going to talk about logical physical access in much detail, but access control, like when you open in your offices, when you log into your machine, desktop, there may be a password given to you. So that login password to a machine hardware is logical security, and file management, storing, retrieving, all that. These are the tasks which are done by operating system. Then application softwares are those which perform specific tasks. So we did ask this question in the previous chapter. So Tally, MS Word, MS PowerPoint, these are all good examples of application software. MS Excel. So these are good examples of application software. So which user is using for his, her purpose, those those are called as application software. Those softwares performing specific tasks for end users are application software. The customer service department creates a customer database to keep track of calls and problem reports. And the sales department also creates a database to keep track of customer information. Which one should be used as master list of customers in the operating system? So this concept. So what is happening? This becomes part of application software. Then the examples are given, include all computer software that causes a computer to perform a useful task. So all these are examples. You can add 100 more. So whatever application user he or she is using, or it as a company is using, for that it becomes an application software. Next is data. So data resource. So data is from a word datum, which are raw bits and pieces of information. You can think of data as collection of fact. For years, business houses have been gathering information with regard to customer, supplier, business partner, market cost, price movement, so on. That is data. Data is now helping companies to create strategies for future This precisely is the reason why we started hearing a lot about data analytics. And we have already talked about the definition in chapter 1. So analysis of all this data is data analytics. It includes data, database, and database management system. Database. Now, what we'll do, we'll define this database and then we'll take a break because database management system itself is a very good discussion to have. So I'll just define it and then we'll take a break. A set of logically interrelated organized collection of data is database. So collection of data is database. The goal of many information system is to transfer data into information to generate knowledge that can be used for decision making. We took this example, the number of students registered for CA inter course. And after this, we are going to talk about database management system. So we are having a break at an appropriate time. We'll rejoin at 7:30. So it's a break time. Okay. So Alok has put a good question. How an output can be called as tactile? So please understand, Alok. Uh, First, we need to be clear about this output is addressing a disability that is with a blind person. So the way you print that output, that will be referred to as tactile output. That is. Now, coming to the question in hand, that is uh, database management system. So DBMS is a software that aid in organizing, controlling, using the data needed by the application program. They provide the facility to create and maintain a well organized database. These systems are primarily used to develop, analyze single user databases and are not meant to be shared across network or internet, but are installed on a device and work with a single user at a time. Now, see, please understand that technology has evolved. So today, database management systems, the whole data, the way it is stored, you're storing data on what you call as a cloud storage. So that sharing capability is now being built. The basic definition remains the same. So it's a software that aid in organizing, controlling, using the data that are needed by an application program. So like the example we have all been taking, number of CA students. So you said 8 lakh CA students, roughly 8 lakh CA students. Out of those, how many are CA inter students? The question that I put to you in chapter 1 was, how many students are there who have not been able to clear their examination in one attempt? So this information that is being generated, so this information will be generated by processing data that is stored on a database that is being managed through database management system. And this database management system is answering the query that is generated by the application software that lies at the top of it. This is very, very, very important discussion. Please keep a tag of this. What capabilities database management systems provide? So what they provide? Data sharing. I'll read through and then we'll try to create an example to understand few concepts. Okay. Minimizing data redundancy, ensuring maintenance of integrity, ensuring program and file consistency, user friendly, better security, achieving program data independence, allowing faster application development. Okay. Now, before we go ahead, I want to share the practicality, what exactly database is doing, how things are changing when you are using a database management system. Please understand, database management system is an evolving concept, means it evolved 30, 35 years back, 40 years back. So it is, when you say it permits data sharing, so it's a relative term. Relative means previously it was not there, now it is there. So then what was previously? So that what exactly was the way of storing data before this idea about database management system came, I'm sharing that with you. Please understand, this discussion is only an academic discussion to help improve your understanding of the advantages given. So I'm just sharing that with you. Give me a second. Now, so previously, when you did not have database management system, there was something called as file system of storing. So a file had what was called as records. Records were made of fields, and fields were made of bytes. That was the previous storage mechanism. So we were basically reading file. So before database was there was a concept of file storage. Now what I'm bringing an example to understand the advantages that came through database management system. Okay. Now the key disadvantage of file as a system was what it could not be done. It was not a shared resource. Okay. Now I'm doing it practically. So just understand that data is stored in file and file is not shared. We want to share it. I want to create an example. So I'm doing a live example. Suppose I say debtors file. So what information debtors file will have? List of debtors and their balances. This information will be there. Now, for sake of understanding, debtors file by nature of it, the operational parameters, which department in the organization is going to have a debtors file? Who is going to own the debtors file? You try to answer this question. Suppose I talk of debtors file. Debtors files have list of debtors and the balance outstanding from debtors. So which department in the company is going to own that? So you answer that. Let me put it here. So sales department is going to own the debtors file. So sales is our owner department. So we call this as the owner department. Okay. So this department owns our debtors file. It's the owner department. Okay. Sales. Yes. Great. Now, what is the key disadvantage of this whole file system? It cannot be shared. So now what happens? Accounts department makes a call to sales. So they call salespeople that they want the file. Which file? Debtors file. Why accounts department will require the debtors file? Because accounts want to generate what you call as the outstanding debtors. So they want to generate the outstanding debtors. Most of the time, 90% of the time, sales department is not interested in showing the outstanding and the aging. They will always say no, but then job has to be done. So one day, sales manager gives the file to the accounts department. Now what happens? It is a not shared resource. So during the time file is with accounts department, sales department cannot update it. So it created a different problem. If sales department does a sale and does not update the debtors file, mismatch will be there. So an accounts department wants file because it wants to generate the outstanding. It takes 7 days to generate that. So it was a huge conflict. So to resolve the conflict, a solution was found. What was the solution? You know what was done? So they created a duplicate of debtors file. Now, one copy is with sales, another is with accounts. Great. So accounts department, because it has the copy, it can generate outstanding, take 10 days, 15 days. Sales is not worried because they already have their file. Good. But as soon as you create a duplicate file, you know what happens? An issue of redundancy arises. What is redundancy? Redundancy is additional information. An information done twice. An information that is available more than once. So it becomes redundant, additional information. Okay. Okay. Let this be a problem. Now, so one problem is there, duplicate file. Now just see what happens. Sales have their file. Accounts have their file. Accounts use the file to generate outstanding. Who is going to update the file? Sales department, because sales is triggered through sales department. So what happens? Sales department does the sale. They update their file, but fail to intimate accounts. So the second problem with duplication arises is issue of updation. or I can say issue of timely updation. Two files, they cannot be timely updated. So this multiple issues, and then last one that arises because timely update is not there, you have to have a reconciliation between both information. And based on the outstanding which is generated by accounts department, the decisions need to be taken. Your cash credit limit has to be calculated. So everything goes bad, haywire. So where the problem started, file. What was the problem? It could not be shared. So a solution was found, you created duplicate. As soon as you created duplicate, issue of redundancy arise. Because redundancy is there, the issue of updation arrive. And additional process of reconciliation has to be done. To all this problem, a solution was found by creating something that you call as a database. Now, so what is the key character of database? So from this problem with file, you learn the benefits of database. Let us go to the slide itself. Now read it. So this understanding will improve. Database is a shared resource. So a single database can be shared by all. Good. So it permits data sharing. Second, because it's a single resource, it does not lead to data redundancy. You need not create it again. It is single, available. Now, the second issue that the issue that arises that the resource is single, 10 people are going to access. So you need to build proper access controls because this becomes a vulnerability. Many people accessing same data is a vulnerability. How you mitigate the vulnerability by creating what you call as controls. So because you create good controls, you know that it's a shared resource, so mandatorily you create controls. Creating controls give rise to the third aspect. What is that? Integrity can be maintained because controls are there. Once you ensure integrity is there, then you come to the fourth one. Program and file consistency. I told you reconciliation. The updates are there in sales file, but the updates are not shared with accounts file. So that becomes inconsistent. But because it's a shared resource, commonly updated, any update done by one user is available to the next user, it ensures all people are using the same file. User friendly because information is accessible. Improved security. Why improved security? Because you are all aware about the risk. With a shared resource, misuse can be there because you are aware about the risk. You have a risk assessment process. You already implemented proper controls. So this adds to the quality of security that you keep on database. And this point can be a huge discussion. And I'll just make it as crisp as possible. Achieving program and data independence. Now, please understand what is the point. So understand the way it appears. Okay. Here is my database management system. My application program works on top of it. So whatever reports I need to generate, I will generate through my application program. So my application program is going to access my database. When I change my application program, I improve the quality of application program. I get better reports, improved reports. This improved report does not require me to change my database itself. This capability of application program working independent of the database is what you call as data independence. You keep it separate. There's a clear-cut dividing line. Database is a collection of data. Application program is going to access data to generate information. And because you have created this independence, it leads to faster application development. So advantages of database, this 8 point can be an 8-hour discussion, believe me. Yeah, Pranav, sorry, SD, segregation of duty. Fantastic. Then these are possible disadvantages of database. Cost. Yes, the implementing cost is reasonably high. in terms of system, user training. Yes, it is expensive, time consuming, especially for large enterprises. Training requirements alone, yes, which it actually, we talked about this, that companies in ERP chapter 2, we talked about training, we talked about this topic per se itself, that companies, they feel that they can save on training costs, but don't do it. Okay. Then security, even with safeguards in place, it may be possible for some unauthorized users to access the database. If one gets access to database, then it could be all or nothing. Yes, please understand, security is an ongoing process. You answered the question, can we ever reduce risk to zero? The right answer is no. You can always mitigate risk. You can have controls, but never bring it to zero. If that is there, that risk cannot be mitigated to zero for any system, any component of system. That point is valid for database also. For database also, you cannot reduce the risk to zero. What you can do is keep a control over it, ensure that it is minimized by having controls. So if this idea is clear, let us read the disadvantage again. Even with safeguards in place, it may be possible for some unauthorized users to access the database. If one gets access to database, then it could be all or nothing proposition. Let me share a live case. It happened somewhere outside India some time back. A hacker was able to hack the salary master data of employees of a company. Please understand, salary master data of employees of the company. So in the master data, where you have this salary, say gross salary, say 1 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees month, 10 lakh rupees per month. So that master salary data he had. You know what he did? Whatever was stored in that database, he multiplied it by 10. So if the original salary in the database was 1 lakh, the multiplication was done by 10. So it became 10 lakh. If the original salary was 10 lakh per month, it becomes 100 lakh. Done it. Now please understand, this payroll process is in big companies, it's an automated process. Automated process means attendance is marked through biometric thumb impression. Your attendance is picked from the attendance system. It is processed in payroll process. So payroll process program, what it does, it collates the attendance of the employee from attendance system, biometric enabled. And once that attendance is collated, it picks the salary details from the database, picks the leave data, leave information from leave application, brings all together, generates salary, and someone within the HR department, he or she has only to press a button, pay. Press the button. In this case, pressing of the button, 10 times salary was paid to all employees. But as soon as that trigger was done, people realized within the company, employees also realized some mistake is there. So it was called back. So company didn't had a cash loss or a loss of money, but the risk was there. Okay. Okay, hacking is, so it's a topic that is part of the syllabus. So when it comes, we'll talk about that. But the security. So our concern was security of database. Then network and communication systems. So introduction, in fact, today, the day we are talking, we already have started 5G rollout across India. Many cities it is there. Now, all of you who buy a new mobile phone, all of you ensure that your mobile phone is a 5G compliant mobile phone. So this we are all looking at. So it's basically the speed and quality of communication that you get on these type of networks. So network and communication system. In fact, it's a good time to understand the revolution we as a country have been able to create over this 3-year period of COVID. From March 2020, when the first lockdown was announced, we are virtually, next year will be in the third year of that lockdown. The way we as a country have adopted digital payment. It has been a revolution, and now you must be reading in. I think you all have started reading Financial Daily as I requested 10 days back to you. So in Financial Dailies that you are reading, you virtually find an article daily in those newspapers, financial newspapers regarding across the world. Countries are amazed by the success of our digital platforms, and many countries have actually formally requested government of India that they need our like UPI platform for their country so that they can start digital payments at their country also. So it's a revolution. A phenomenal revolution has come up, and the success of that revolution, one of the parameters of success of revolution is your heading of the slide, network and communication system. No, Alok, you can read any. See, okay, because Alok has asked, so I'll just share. Means you can read Economic Times, you can read Business Standard, you can read Business Line, you can read Financial Express, any uh, newspaper, financial newspaper, which has an all India circulation is readable by. But please start. Two things I asked you to do. This is the one thing. What is the other thing? Let me check you whether you remember it or not. See, believe me, the two things that I am requesting, they are going to phenomenally change the way you approach your examination. That is the change I want to in all of you. Okay. So let us go to. So I've asked you the question. Two things I requested you to start doing. One was this financial newspaper. What was the other thing? Yes. So Jyoti audited. Yeah, financial statement. Dhanesh and Jyoti. Good. So please start reading this audited financial statements of listed companies, BSC, NSC. They are all available. They are public documents. You can download and read them. Start reading them. Believe me, your understanding of whatever you're reading in your syllabus is going to be fundamentally improved upon. The quality of learning is going to be phenomenal. Start doing it. Yeah, online is okay, Manoj. Uh, if you are comfortable, then it's okay. But then I'm not very sure online reading on mobile. If you're comfortable, I'm okay with that, but must do. Okay. Yeah. Let us go to the topic. So network and communication systems in today's high speed world, it is impossible to imagine any information system without an effective, efficient communication system. The system is a valuable resource which helps in good management. Telecommunication networks give an organization the capability to move information rapidly between distant locations and provide ability for employee customers and suppliers to collaborate from anywhere, combined with the capability of bringing processing power to the point of application. So we all understand. See, this example of UPI, digital payment, these are good examples to understand that network is the core of success in all this. Okay, I'll take that, Alok. Thank you. Then what happens when you start using network? So value creation system leads to value creation for an organization. Yes, believe me, this value creation, you can create thousands and thousands of example. One we have been taking from chapter one. I'll bring that. We have talked about that example. An increase in efficiency of operation, improvement in effectiveness of management, innovation in the marketplace. So I'm reading the last one. You know that snack seller example I gave you in chapter one, business process automation. What that snack seller did, he only created a simple Google form, linked it to a payment gateway, ensured that the Google form is shared on all WhatsApp group across the. See, once it is available in single WhatsApp, people share. So it was within less than 24 hours, the Google form was available to all people across my city. People gave online orders, made the online payment, and I've told you the business they did. What was this success? Innovation. So because networking was there, that technology was available, it was communicated, phenomenal business, unimaginable business. This is from the so the last third point is basically how an entity used communication technology to interact with the outsiders. The first two, if you look at, it is basically how management itself improves its performance. So you can break it that third one leads to external value creation and first second leads to internal for learning purposes. So efficiency of operation, yes, you integrate, create a business automation system, create communication. The example that we took first slide when we started this lecture was the purchase manager getting an information on his mobile that this stock is hitting the reorder level. Efficiency, effectiveness, perfect. That was through a network communication system. So once you understand these examples in perspective, you can always relate to the topic in hand. So that is the core. Again, coming at the cost of multiple repetition, the one thing that I want all of you to notice, examples and link the same to the topic, the lines that are used in the topic. Then network type, with a simple example, it will be more clear to you. Connection oriented network and connection less network. Wi-Fi is connection less. So those networks that doesn't require physical linkages are connectionless. Wi-Fi, 5G, your mobile towers, our mobile phones work on connection less networks. My office has a connection oriented. We have LAN Cat 5 cable connecting the desktop PCs. Laptop is connected through Wi-Fi. So within my office, we have a Wi-Fi that is connectionless. And in my office, the desktops are connected through physical Cat 5 LAN cable. So that become connection. So when there is a physical connection, it becomes a connection oriented network. When there is no physical connection, there is connection less network. Yeah, Bluetooth is a good example. Danish. Then, so that was the question someone talked about routers. And so that router and all those are relating to this, what you are reading. Okay. So routers is a network device. So just keep in your mind. Now, this is important. Again, these are at beyond the level, these are very technical topics. A lot of discussion can be done, but we want to focus on our understanding. Okay. Routing. It is refers to the process on deciding how to communicate the data from source to destination in a network. So I'm giving an example. Okay, just take this example. See, when you talk of routing, there is a concept of point to point. Point to point means suppose this finger is the sender's location. This finger is the receiver's location. So point to point means there's a direct connection between them. How a direct connection can be created? Through a network link. That network link can be, I don't know whether RFID towers, it can be through physical wire, but that becomes a routing. So what I'm doing, I'm communicating from the sender location directly to receiver location, point to point. They are linked. Okay. Other could be that sender location and receiver location is there. My communication doesn't have a defined path. The destination is there, but the path is not defined. So when I send an email, from the sender, it goes to the available route, whichever is free. So there is a possibility that before it reaches the receiver, the mails from sender may hit 10 different servers and go to the receiver. None of the server will be reading it, but they will enable the message to flow. So where it is not point to point. So there are technical definitions to this. The core to understand is that how message is received by the receiver once it is sent by the sender, that process is routing. Then bandwidth. I'll give a simple example because bandwidth we are reading 5G, broadband. So these words you are reading. So I'm giving with a simple example. Suppose I ask you, you answer this and then I explain. Imagine a water pipe, okay, with a diameter of say 10 inch, a water pipe with a diameter of 10 inch and a water pipe with a diameter of 100 inch. आप इमेजिन करें एक पानी का पाइप जिसका डायमीटर 10 इंच है और एक ऐसा पानी का पाइप जिसका डायमीटर 100 इंच, जो those public linkages of water, that underground water pipeline are 100 inches like that. So now the question is, which of the two 10-inch water pipe with diameter, 100-inch diameter water pipe, which will have a larger flow of water per unit of time? You have to say 10-inch or 100-inch. What is the question? The question is, which of the two pipes will have a larger water flow per unit of time? 10 इंच के पाइप में और 100 इंच के पाइप में प्रति सेकंड किस में पानी ज्यादा बहेगा? So you have to say 10 inch or 100 inch. Once you answer, we'll read bandwidth. So the concept will be clear on bandwidth. Then resilience. Let us do. Okay. So I had a pleasure of doing 4 years of articleship. Okay. I enjoyed every moment of my articleship. In fact, I always thank my bosses that my articleship helped me learn lot of things. And I always, I'm with courtesy and with thanks to my boss, whatever good I'll be doing in my life, courtesy my articleship, always thanking them. Why this discussion? That refers to resilience. So I have a very personal feeling that those of us who complete a genuine articleship, in the period we have to use the word genuine. So those of us who complete a genuine articleship, they become resilient. Now let us read it. It refers to ability of a network to recover from any kind of error, like connection failure, loss of data. So resiliency is a performance parameter. Resiliency means capability of myself to work in troublesome situations, to be able to work in hard environment. So I am resilient. So I feel articles, those who have done their genuine articleship, they can work in any environment across life. That much resiliency is created. The same concept you apply to networks which are capable of recovering from any error, connection failure, of loss of data. So they have a way of fast recovery. So those networks are called as more resilient, like that. And contention. It refers to a situation that arises when there is conflict for some common resource. For example, network contention could arise when two systems try to communicate at the same time. So contention means there could be a fight because the connection is single. Two people want to send the message. So how that contention is resolved? So there are priority settings that you can do in the network. Suppose branch manager of a bank and loan officer of a bank, they both want to use the same network. So in system configuration is there that if branch manager and loan officer want to send a mail through same connection, who will get precedence? Branch manager. So within network, there is something called as contention resolution rules, which are built into network. Who gets access to that first? Of course, you. Okay. So this is how contention can be resolved. Let us see how you have answered. Yes. So all of you have said 100-inch pipe. That is a definition of bandwidth. So when I say broadband, what I mean that the pipe to send information, the diameter is large. So when I say broadband, it means because the diameter of the pipe carrying information is large, I can send more information per unit of time. That is why you measure the speed of this bandwidth is BPS, bits per second, 1 million bits per second, 1 billion bits per second. That is what you call as bandwidth. So bandwidth is the capability of the network to transmit the frequency, larger amount of information per unit of time. So you've all said it correctly. Yeah, contention can be resolved by giving preference. Contention doesn't mean preference. Okay. You can resolve contention by creating a preference priority rule. So preferential rule definition is a solution to the problem. Pranav, being online, I cannot share that, but believe me, it's a story to listen and enjoy. How I did 4 years architecture. Don't worry, it's a fact. Okay. Someday, see, world is round and it's small, so I'm dead sure one day we will meet. So I'll tell you then. Okay. Then benefits. Okay, that is easy. So I think we are all moving from a phase of 3 years articleship, 2 years. I think the new proposal is 2 years articleship. So now you are filling 2 years articleship and multiplied by two. So those are 2 years articleship twice. That is great. Benefits. Uh, I take Uday, what you have said, but I salute my boss. The faith and the way he taught us. During articleship, we never realized that whatever our boss is doing is good for us. Uh, During articleship, one of the person we probably don't like the most is our boss. But then over a period of time, as life progresses, as you get into practice, you realize that whatever that day your boss said, it was basically for you. And in fact, it's very personal. Uh, After I got into my practice, it took 5 years for me to realize the benefit of whatever we did during articleship. It was phenomenal learning. Okay. So benefits of network and communication. So it was a small topic on benefits of articleship. Let us go to our patch. Okay. So distributed nature of information. Distributed nature of information means people can use for their, so people will have access, so they can all use for their purpose. Resource sharing. Yes, we have talked about, we have taken live example. So singular resources available to more people. Computational power. You can create more value through networking. Reliability, because more than one people are using. So, and they are going to take decisions. So you need to ensure the reliability quotient is very high. And user communication, we have taken examples, they can communicate better. So that is introduction, information system components. Now, the next topics we're going to talk more on the headers of it. Okay. So just 30 seconds to you, because we've completed a large part of the chapter. So just for any questions you have. Yeah, Pranav. Good. So a contention may arise that it may be stuck. There is a possibility. Yes. So that is a good answer. Yeah. Possibility, it is not going to happen because the bandwidth available is very high, but the possibility is there. Just imagine this walkie-talkie is a good example. Walkie-talkie, that only one person can talk at a time. So suppose I'm talking to you and it's a walkie-talkie, means either I can talk or either you can talk. So as soon as I complete my communication, I say over so that you can talk. So walkie-talkie is one-way communication at a time. Both people cannot talk. So it's like a road where only one person can travel. So you need to have a way of resolving any conflict. Whether it's an online process now. Okay. Now, information system control. The idea behind control we have talked about. I told you that there are few words which are common to all 5 chapters. One of the word is control. Classification, objective, nature of IS resource, and audit function. Now, what we'll be doing today, the MCQ I have shared. So what we'll do, today's MCQ we are going to solve today. So we'll do it today itself live. The increasing use of IT in an organization has made it imperative that appropriate information systems are implemented in an organization. It should cover all key aspects of business process of an enterprise, should have an impact on its strategic competitive advantage for its success. The enterprise strategy outlines the approach. It wishes to formulate with relevant policies and procedures to achieve the business objectives. The basic purpose of information system control is in an organization is to ensure that business objectives are achieved and undesired risk events are prevented, detected, or corrected. So the basic definition is there. The concept is there. We have talked about control, what controls achieve. The last line is the basic purpose of control in an organization is to ensure that business objectives are achieved, undesired risk events are prevented, detected, and corrected. So because a new word has come, we did do this exercise in chapter 1. I told you then also that these distinction between these three words is going to be part of your syllabus. It is going to come in the next chapters. So before we go to the next slide, I am repeating the question. So I'm doing it in a different manner. Suppose I say CCTV, the CCTV camera. So you have to say whether they are preventive, detective, or corrective. Okay. Then once you answer that, so CCTV is preventive, detective, or corrective. Answer, and then we'll discuss. It is part of this chapter itself. Okay. Then again, this is a very, very, very important slide to talk about. Some of the critical control lacking in computer environment. Now, please understand the background to the header. See, technology is evolving. Technology evolves fast. We did talk about that. Technology is evolving in what you call as geometric progression, GP. Why GP? Because the first computer that we were talking about was developed by humans. But as the learning improved, the second generation was done with humans and with computers. Now we are in fifth generation computers. So fifth generation computer has been basically developed by computer itself. So when a computer is developing a computer, the growth is in geometric progression. That is one aspect. The second aspect is that as technology is evolving, the controls are not evolving. The way technology goes ahead, the controls needed to implement, they are not able to keep pace with that. So there is always a gap in terms of the evolution of technology and mitigating the risk associated with technology. That is the header of the question. I asked you a question. Let us see. Yeah. So Manjunath says detective. Manoj says detective. So I'll read the right answers. Then Swati says detective. Kiran says detective. And Piyush says detective. Good. So the right answer is detective. The core is to detect. It is not having a CCTV will not act as a preventive. It is not going to ensure the risk does not occur. That is okay. Now let us read the question. So what I created a background that why this question comes into being if it is there. So critical controls lacking. Why they lack? So what you're basically answering, why the controls are not there. First is lack of management's understanding of information system risk and related control. It is a very, very valid point. Please understand, when management adopts technology, they may not be able to assess all risk associated with technology, the vulnerabilities, the threat agents which can hit. So because management lacks that understanding, the possibility of some control not being there is very high. So because you don't understand the risk, see, if you don't understand the risk, you are not going to implement control. In internal control, in your audit, where if you have read internal control, you have read this point, there is a concept of limitation of internal control. What is a limitation? One of the limitation is that you can have internal control for those risks which you know. But if you have not defined a risk, then you cannot have a control for that. That is the point. Then absence or inadequate information system control framework. Good. So because you are using information system, you have not created a control parameter to make good that information system control, that information system. That is absence of weak general controls and EIS controls. Your general controls are not being put in place. That is critical. Lack of awareness. Yes, this is very, very important. This comes from training. That training must be given to staff. So you implement, you create controls, but you don't train. Complexity of implementation of control. This is another aspect. Let me ask you this. Suppose we want to have attendance in an organization. So I can have attendance in the organization by, and we want to do it in a technology manner. I'm giving you option. Okay. Then you say which is the best. So I can mark attendance of employee by giving them those employee card. So this employee card has a chip that has details of the employee. That chip you may call as a RFID chip, a radio frequency identification device chip. It's an electronic device and it keeps data of the employee. So as soon as the employee enters the gate of the company, the card has to be put on a location and it reads all data. So this is one way of marking attendance. Another way of marking attendance can be at the gate. I have got a biometric attendance system. So biometric attendance system means the employees have to put their biometric thumb. They have to put their thumb. The machine is going to scan their thumb impression and mark the attendance. Now, these are both good system of marking attendance. I am asking you, which of the two is going to be more foolproof, which will lead to a lesser error? You answer that. So one is card-based system, other is biometric. So you have to say card or biometric. That is. Okay. Then we are going to talk about based on your answer, we'll discuss point number 5 again. Then lack of control features or their implementation in highly technology-driven environments. Technology-driven environment means where a lot of this like AI system, machine learning system, all those have been put in place. So there the technology is so high that you are still devising controls to control that tech because the way technology is evolving. So technology evolves first and controls comes later on. So there can be a time gap. That is inappropriate technology implementation or inadequate security functionalities. Yes. So you have brought in control, but they are not sufficient. Okay. So let us read. You have answered. Biometric will be more accurate. Now let us read point number 5. Complexity of implementation. The issue is that to implement biometric, it may be a complex process. So because control is good, but because it is complex to implement, entity says, okay, let us go ahead with card system. That is how you do it. Yes, biometric. Good. Yeah, in the first one, card-based system, there could be proxy. See, card is not identifying the employee. Card is identifying the card. So a person who comes late, he or she may give card to the friend and ask the person to show the card. So the possibility of proxy is there in card, but that doesn't exist in biometric. So that is how you make an evolution or evolving technologies and how they have to be put in place. Then classification of controls. Now, this is the classification. So we are going to keep our discussion. But you must have, Pranav, you must have seen movies where those biometrics are also being stolen. Believe me, this is how things are there. So you create a technology and there's a risk associated with technology that comes first. Okay. But of course, so given the choices, biometric today is considered more reliable. Now, so today's discussion I'll just define this and then we'll go to our MCQ for the day. Okay, Pranav, because Pranav has said that our Aadhars have 2 or 3 biometric parameters, the impressions of your finger. Your Aadhaar also has your eye tracking, retina based. So it is there. Good. So retina is a good option, Pranav. But the point is what? That the Cost of implementing will be huge. So you have to balance cost and controls. That is exactly one of the point was there, that complexity, implementation, associated cost. So there could be gaps in the technology you are using and controls needed to make the technology, controls needed to ensure that the risk for that technology is mitigated. That is. Okay. Then, so we need to define what you are looking at. The objective of internal control. So the classification of controls can be based on objectives, based on nature of IS resource, and based on the function the control is achieving. So you can say controls can be preventive, detective, corrective. You can say the controls are environmental, physical, logical, and you can say the controls are management controls or application controls. So controls preventive. So what is a preventive control? Preventive control will be those controls which will ensure that the error does not occur. So what I'll do, I'll give example for understanding. Now, whenever you talk of control, you talk of a risk, associated risk. Okay. So suppose fire is a risk. So what I'll give you for same set of risk, I'll give you examples. Okay. So if fire is a risk, what is preventive control? So fireproof material, no smoking zone. That is preventive. So one set of risk will create all the three controls. Okay. So for fire as a risk, you have no smoking zone, fireproof material. That becomes what? Preventive. Next, detective. So what is a detective control? Detective control is a control that detects the occurrence of the risk. In the same example, suppose fire is a risk. What will be detective control? So fire alarm is going to be detective control. Smoke alarm is going to be detective control. So controls which detect an error that has occurred is detective. Then go to the next one. What is the next one? Corrective control. Corrective means those controls which are put in place to correct the error which has occurred. So if my fire is a risk, what is a corrective control? Fire extinguisher. So through use of fire extinguisher, I remove the fire or extinguish the fire. That is corrective control. So preventive, detective, and corrective. We'll be taking more examples. This is creating for definition purpose. Okay. Then, so objective of control based on preventive, detective, and corrective. Then controls can be based on nature of information system resource. Now, for this, I'll take ATM. Your ATM kiosk, I'm taking as an example. For ATM kiosk, we'll talk about all the three controls. Okay. First, environmental control. So your ATM machine is kept in a air-conditioned kiosk. So that is environment. What air conditioning does? It ensures safety from dust and all those, because the room has to be secured. It has to be sealed from all sides. So environmental control. So which relate to the external environment, those controls are environmental controls. Then physical access control. Physical access control means those controls which ensure control over person who is accessing the resource physically. Same ATM. Security guard, if it is sitting in the ATM counter or outside the ATM kiosk, and before you enter the ATM kiosk, security guard asks you to just show the debit card or the card through which you are going to withdraw the money. You need not share the details, just that I am there to withdraw money. So that security guard for that ATM becomes a physical access control. Logical access control. Logical access controls are password driven, access driven control to a resource. So when you go to an ATM, insert your card, give the details what you want to do, and when you want to do a transaction, withdraw money or whatever you want to do at that ATM kiosk, the ATM kiosk asks you to give the PIN number. So PIN number becomes logical access. That is. Then IS function. what part of the whole organization the control is going to address. So say, if I say that organizations need to have proper backups, management control framework. If I say there has to be a concept of maker and checker, we talked about in chapter 2, park and post. Entry will be parked by a person and posted by another person. That is application control. The maker checker segregating the two. So this is how you look at, this is how you define controls. There is a lot of detailed discussion to be done, but today we are keeping it only at definition level. Let us see your queries. Yes, fire alarm is detective, fire extinguisher is corrective, and yes, logic a pin, the ATM pin is your logical access control. Good. Just for understanding, I want you to merge the two. So you are going to pick the answer from objective of control and nature of highest resource. So if I'll tell you a control, so you will give two answers. This control for objective is what category of control, what objective is achieved, and the nature of highest resource it is applicable. Security guard. So you have to answer two, one from objective, from nature of highest resource. So first question is security guard. Yes, very good, Uday. Audit by nature intent is detective. Perfect. Okay. Now, by the time you answer the security guard, let us go to the MCQ. Just give me a second. I'll bring the MCQs. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. So Priyanka has said physical and preventive. Perfect. Very good. Piyush has also said correctly physical and preventive. Got the idea? So this is how your learning controls. Fantastic. Now questions. Okay. I missed. Who asked this question? Audit. पेपर लीक हो गया लग रहा है एकदम किसी ने भी सवाल पूछा तो ऑडिट क्या है गुड सो प्लीज आंसर detective good Kujema account number in card list deposit no I am not able to get the point Kujema please write it again you need to write something more 1B detective great question 2 also we have discussed okay no to C was to C if you could have guessed between C and D of all the four, only C is the one which is both input as well as output. So it has both the characters. I gave D intentionally so that that clarity may come to you. So because I have only defined two to you right now, so I will take anyone who gives of the options. Even if the third one is incorrect, I'll take it as correct. So managerial application, even if it is incorrect, I will take it as correct. So physical, preventive, and managerial. Okay. Yeah. I have given example to all. In fact, one of the questions someone shared in the chat. So one of you shared Bluetooth. One word I have not used during discussion. Don't worry, you can answer that. Two, great. So A2, Bluetooth is connectionless. B3, MySQL is database management system. C4, firewall is preventive control. And D1 is a connected network. Great. Yeah. This is easy giveaway. Fifth was easier to allow you to score. But I want you to answer this. We've discussed this virtually on each day of our class. Good. C, internal control and segregation of duty. Great. So that is for the day. Just 30 seconds if you have any query. Okay. So we'll meet again uh, just before the end of this year 2022 and at the cusp of starting 2023. Yeah, Khuzem, I'll show you. Just ping me. Uh, just give me. I'll keep it ready, Khuzema. I want to show you. Okay. I'll show you 31st start of the session. Thank you. Closing. We are over. Thank you.